Hello and welcome to this talk all about IOR Fellow membership. You may see people in the industry with the initials F in star after their name, or wearing one of these lovely gold IOR logo badges. This designates people as fellows of the Institute. So we've been having a few queries, people asking us what does it mean to be a fellow. We thought we'd put together a little video to explain. First, let me introduce myself. My name's Miriam Rodway. I'm a member of the Institute, but I'm also the Chief Executive, and I also support the Membership Committee and the Board of Trustees, many of whom are Fellows. So what does it mean to be an IOR Fellow? IOR Fellows are individuals who show exceptional commitment to the advancement of refrigeration, air conditioning and heat pumps, working in leadership roles with strong technical ability. They have a long-term relationship with the IOR and are often called upon to take part in events, write technical guidance, and join working groups or committees. The IOR is a charitable institution, and our key objective is to advance refrigeration, air conditioning, and heat pumps for the public good. So it's very important that we have people who are leaders in the field involved in the Institute, and we recognize their role as we move the industry forward. So who are the fellows? You may not realize that somebody is a fellow of the Institute or why they've become a fellow. So I've put a couple of examples here of recent fellows. One person is a senior mechanical engineer who at the time was running his own small business, having joined the Institute of Refrigeration in 2005. They were somebody who was very regularly seen on industry committees, particularly in the field of education, but also in technical groups. They were representing at the time other trade associations primarily, although they had been an active member of the Institute. So when they applied for fellowship, they were well known and well recognized for the work they'd been doing. My second example here is a director of a manufacturing company who had joined the Institute in 2006 and took an active part in the RACHP apprenticeship employers group and represented the IOR at various government education consultation meetings, eventually joining the Institute on the Board of Trustees, having been elected by members. So again, an individual clearly making a contribution to the industry because they were working on a group of employers who volunteered to take part in a large number of meetings to improve the standard of training and encourage more people to have apprenticeships in the future. My third example here is a sales and marketing director of a service and installation company who had joined the Institute in 2001. This individual was particularly involved in giving technical talks on our program and on various conferences and published a number of those papers. And not just for the Institute, but for various other technical and academic conferences. And in fact, they had won the IOR Ted Perry Student Award for their research, their PhD research, which had been submitted sometime before 2001. And more recently, having been appointed a fellow of the Institute, they were involved in the IOR membership committee. So clearly contributing to the Institute through the committee work, but also clearly technical leadership, having done the PhD work and having published a lot of their academic work and their practical and technical work in the wider field. Just a couple of examples there to show you the type of people who might be fellows. So reminding you of the various grade structures, we have various ways in which people can get involved in the Institute. Now the difference, if you like, between a fellow and all these other grades is that people never come into the Institute as a fellow. We don't invite non-members to come in and become fellows immediately. It's only open to those who've been involved in the Institute for at least 10 years. These other grades are ways that you might join the Institute initially. For example, as an affiliate, if you don't have a technical background, that grade is available to you. Technicians who are more hands-on technicians in practical roles. Pre-associate tend to be people who very recently joined the Institute in a design or sales engineer or some sort of technical role. Associates have more experience, and members are already working in quite strong leadership roles. So you can see that those grades are ones that people would join at, and then over a period of time, if they do continue to grow within the Institute, to provide thought leadership, to get really actively involved, and they can demonstrate that, the possibility is there for those ones to become fellow. It's really open to anybody who has that evidence. The one thing that isn't shown on this graph here, on this little chart, is student, because of course students, members, are also getting involved in the Institute and then working their way through the grades once they've got the practical experience. So what are the minimum requirements for fellow? So as I said, they will have 5 years of leadership, special responsibility roles. It may be required for more than that if they don't have any qualifications. They would be expected to have been a member of the Institute for at least 10 years, showing their long-term commitment. They should have a high level of knowledge, experience, technical experience, managerial, commercial, or educational responsibility. And they must have shown that they are contributing to the advancement of refrigeration or the objectives of the Institute outside their normal work. For example, these voluntary roles of sitting on committees, giving talks, membership of professional bodies, etc. So how do we find out that people actually do have this experience? Anybody who wants to be considered to become a fellow of the Institute has to prepare a statement. We expect this to be around 1,000 words. It should detail what sort of things they have been doing outside of their work responsibilities, outside of their day-to-day jobs. Things like some of the stuff I've mentioned about giving talks, getting involved with students and developing young people, contributing to committees. The talks don't need to be on an IOR committee at all. It could be that you're very active in a branch or in some sort of other institute or association, not the IOR. Or maybe something like the STEM, the science and technical education activities, where you're going into schools and promoting the industry. It doesn't have to be directly for the IOR, although you must have been a member for at least 10 years. You need to tell us a little bit about the responsibility of your works, your current work role, to show that this is actually a leadership role, so that you are leading within that organization at a very senior director type level or a head of department type level, so there is some technical leadership as well as practical work. And you also have to detail how you've been involved in the Institute. So some members just join the Institute at whatever grade and don't take an active involvement. They're not coming to events or activities or joining in any way. So we really would like to see that you are committed to the Institute and to the Institute's development by making things happen within the IOR. For many of our activities, we do give certificates showing that you've attended, or you may be on a committee, for example. The process, now this is a process that's coming in from 2020, would be that we would invite anybody interested to take part in a webinar where we'll actually have a one-to-one, you'll be able to have a discussion about what the requirements are. We'll have our nominations committee talking to you about it, and you can ask questions. Those are going to be held in December. And then we would invite everyone to send in their statements by the 1st of February. And that those statements would be reviewed early in the new year by the nominations committee so that we can look at all the potential applicants together. Those are judged against the criteria, and then by the 1st of April we would hope that the fellows would have been appointed and the membership is ready for the next member renewal year to be a fellow. So that's the basics of it. There is more information on the Institute website. And I just want to remind you why it is important that we have fellows, why even appoint fellows for the Institute. Well, the reason is because it is those individuals who are actually making things happen. All of the information that we know that our members really value, things like technical information, safety alert, news, bulletins, is being written primarily by our members, and fellows are really actively contributing to that sort of thing. The guidance notes, the review of codes of practice, the downloads for our service engineers or RACHP EngTech engineering section. It is our fellows primarily who are working really hard on putting that material together and making that available to you to improve your knowledge. I mentioned already events. You know, it is our fellows often who are giving these presentations. Once you become a fellow, we will come back to you and say, okay, now you're a fellow, let's do even more for the Institute, because if you're leading in those roles, you're going to be leading the industry through the Institute. So some of those events that they might be involved in. And they're also involved in things like developing e-learning, writing publications, giving talks on webinars, and actively involved in our committees. We estimate that there are over 100 individual members taking part in Institute committees and working groups and drafting panels, and we only have a staff of 6 permanent employees, none of whom have a technical background. So really, the fellows are the linchpin of the Institute that keep moving it forward. So if you really feel that you'd like to become a fellow, if you have that expertise and knowledge that you would like to share with your other members, please do consider joining. There is a much more detail about the sort of information I've given you here on our website, and the URL is shown there, but if you go to the website and look at membership, there is a tab that says Fellow, and there is a whole load of information about what you need to do, a bit of a checklist on how to prepare, and details of the timelines involved. Once you have started your application, you can email that to the membership secretary, membership@ior.org.uk. If you have any queries at all in the meantime, again, get in touch with us at this email address, and we'll be happy to help you, talk you through. And we do hope that you'll join one of our live webinars in December, where we can have a bit more of a talk, a Q&A, and we can share some examples with more details and talk to some existing fellows about how they found the process. So thank you very much for listening to this little video, and we hope you found it very helpful, and look forward to seeing you or hearing from you in the future. Thank you very much.